Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, an iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award nominee. We are dedicated to inspire families to read more together and to tell stories together, because reading and storytelling is a great way to grow closer together. Our guest today is coming to us from Silicon Valley. His name is Jay Huffman, and he is the creator of the Storied App, a fantastic new resource for families. Before Jay joins us, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is sponsored by Familius. Familius Publishing is a global trade publishing company that publishes books and other content to help families be happy. Familius believes that the family is a fundamental unit of society and that happy families are the foundation of a happy life. Familius recognizes that every family looks different, and Familius passionately believe in helping all families find greater joy. To that end, Familius publishes books for children and adults that invites families to live the Familius 9 habits of happy family life. Love together, play together, learn together, work together, talk together, heal together, read together, eat together, and laugh together. Check out Familius.com and be sure to follow Familius Talk on Instagram to learn more about their titles and to stay up to date on all their latest releases. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by The Last Surviving Dinosaur, the Tarantocrankosaurus by Stephen Joseph. You know, reading with your kids is all about reading out loud with your kids. And what would make a better read out loud book than a book that has 6 cranky relatives, 3 mean dinosaurs, and 1 very cranky Tarantocrankosaurus? This is a really fun book that tells the real secret to how the dinosaurs became extinct. It's not that life-ending meteor shower that the paleontologists are always telling us about. The Tarantocrankosaurus is so cranky that she makes all the other bigger and meaner dinosaurs disappear. That is, until she comes across the only dinosaur who is immune to her incessant complaining, the Tarantocrankosaurus. Now, these 2 dinosaurs evolved into humans, and that's where cranky people come from. Throughout the illustrated book, family members and dinosaurs humorously battle to have the best saurus. That's a Yiddish word for big, really big problems, including warts, alligator attacks, and brain tumors. Poor cousin Dottie grew an entire forest on her feet. Oi! And the best part of this very funny book is that it's not just for cranky kids. As the storyteller says in the end, even mommy and daddy can be a crankosaurus and a kvetchosaurus sometimes. As it turns out, everybody has a bit of Tarantocrankosaurus and Tarantocrankosaurus in him or her. The Last Surviving Dinosaur reminds readers to be mindful of when and how often they complain, a lesson from which all readers, young and old, can benefit. It's available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other sites where books are sold. And last and certainly not least, this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by the Queen Vernita Visitor Series by author Dr. Dawn Menge. This is a fun and educational series of 9 books that your family will absolutely love. You're all going to love following the Queen and her 12 subjects as they explore a new and exotic region each new year. The Queen's subjects teach her all about stalactites, stalagmites, sharks, seahorses, glaciers, volcanoes, and so much more. As a special education teacher, Dr. Dawn's books touch on disabilities such as Down syndrome, Rett syndrome, cerebral palsy, deafness, visual impairments, and autism. This is a fantastic book that will help your child develop empathy and an understanding that people with disabilities are people and can be great friends. Pam Schneider has provided bright, colorful, and whimsical illustrations that complement the text perfectly. The Queen Vernita Visitor Series will make an excellent addition to any classroom or family library. Check it out today on Amazon.com. Joining us on the line right now from Marin County in California. This is really, I'm really excited about this. This is going to be a fascinating story. We oftentimes are talking to authors who are creating wonderful books. Well, today we're talking to an author, but in a different way. He's part of a team that's developed an amazing app that is going to bring literally thousands and thousands of books into your family's life. Please welcome to the show the founder and partner of Storied App, Jay Huffman. Jay, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Jed Lee. Thanks for having me. How are you today?
I am pretty cool. It is a rainy day here in Boston, so The best place to be is here talking to you about this great new app.
Awesome. Yeah, happy to be here.
So tell us all about it.
My team and I really wanted to deliver a fast, fun, efficient way for parents to bond, read, learn, explore with their children. So we decided to create 5-minute reads. So we have a entire app. We've got 7 main categories that each reinforce life lessons that parents are currently trying to teach their children, like kindness, honesty, the value of hard work, responsibility. There's also, some fun categories and comical if you want to have a good laugh. There's adventure stories with mini series so that, you can read to your child, or if, they're getting in the coming ages of reading on their own, they can just, dive in, solely by themselves. But the whole idea is to deliver a fast, fun 5-minute story so that if it's bedtime and, you're fumbling around hardback books, you just pick up the app. We've got hundreds of stories there that we're continuously updating, and it's all science-backed, approved by child development specialists. For instance, I guess bullying is kind of it's a very sensitive topic in, schools all across the U.S. So we wanted to reach out to child development psychologists who gave us suggestions on the best ways to deal with a bully, and also kind of help kids understand that that's not really a great way to go about life. It's harmful, it's damaging. So we try to pick every specific scenario that your child might, be in on a day-to-day basis, and I guess kind of help guide them through that situation if they ever were in that particular spot, so.
Yeah, and that's, I'm looking at the app now on my phone, and there really is, it's a wonderful library. I mean, it's just like going into a public library, all the different choices that you have. Now, one of the things I want to ask you, and you're mentioning, having a quick little 5-10 minute story time before bed and not needing to fumble with the physical book and the convenience of it. But what would you say to the person out there? And I want to deal with this early on in the interview, so if people don't click away from it. What would you say to the folks who will bring up, well, but scientists say that blue light on the phone, it disrupts your sleep and it's going to mess the kids up from going to sleep, and so they shouldn't be looking at it right before they go to bed?
That is a great question. The whole idea here is to give parents the power of storytelling. So if you look back to the ancient storytellers, I mean, there might have been a few, in the group or the village that really held that wisdom and passed down the stories. So, we kind of wanted to look back at what's really made us human and kind of give the power to the parents to tell the story. So, I think that most of the children will be tucked into bed at night, while the parents getting all the blue light in their eyes. So I think we'll be fine.
Well, that's it. That's a really an interesting point. That the story giving the parent. There are some people who are just natural storytellers, and that's something that's a gift that I was blessed with. And so oftentimes, before bed, I would sit down and just kind of riff and come up with a story for my kids. And And it was wonderful. The kids really had a good time. It was frustrating because the kids would ask me the next night to tell the same story, and I wouldn't have any idea what I said. So I really could have used an app to refer back to that. But yeah, it sounds like you're giving the power to the parents that they're able to look at this app and to come up with this story and share it with the kids as they're getting ready to go to sleep.
Absolutely. And it doesn't just have to start with a bedtime story. I mean, it could be any part of the day. So a lot of our team members, we would compile stories or story plots based off of situations that were happening with their children. So, this primary stories for like ages 1 to 12. And like I said, we'll take, note of real life situations and kind of, bring it to life in a story that we feel would influence and spark intrigue for years, maybe stick with them for the rest of their lives.
Now, you're the founder of the Integral App Studio, and you're creating, I just took a peek on the website, and you're creating these apps for some really well-known companies. What was it that inspired you to create the Storied App?
Well, in my line of work, what I'm trying to do is digitize any type of physical or outdated process. So, I mean, I'm definitely coming from more of a software development mentality. But I think for me, I knew how important it was hearing stories from my grandfather and my father growing up and how that really stuck with me. And I just felt that, every parent should have that power to send a kind and meaningful message to their child. And I know in this day and age, hustle and bustle, people are busy, there's a lot going on. So instead of, spending time and money on multiple books or storybooks, this would be a great addition to your library, not necessarily replacing it, but you'll always have access to a 5-minute story at any part of the day. And most likely it's going to have to deal with the situation that your kid's currently going through in life. So we just wanted to make sure that, we're helping growing the youth and kind of pushing them in the right direction because we all know we need it, right?
Yeah, I still need it. So tell us how it works. So I downloaded and I just downloaded the app, so I didn't register anything like that. But I'm looking, and there's a whole lot going on there. Tell us the kind of nuts and bolts of how it works once a family signs up.
Yeah, so you sign up, you have access to all of the stories. You can take a look at them. There's abstracts and short descriptions. There's appealing images for you to get a good sense of what that story is about. Each story, it costs $1.99. We do have unlimited packages. So if you wanted to purchase it on an annual pass, you'd have access to our hundreds of stories that are, we're continuously updating, just like, think about like Netflix or HBO subscription, right? But for children's stories in a sense. So if you do the unlimited subscription, that's $4.99 a month, and you have access to every story. There's even an option for a digital bookshelf there if you want to create reading lists or save a story for the next day or kind of plot out your week. We also accept any type of contributors, like if there's any children's authors that are looking to publish their story with us, we take submissions. All that we ask is you keep it within a 5-minute read. So yeah, I mean, that's where we're at right now. We definitely want to keep growing. But I think we're off to a good start. So
it's really exciting, and it certainly is a change of pace for you. What's it, or is it a change of pace for you? Developing this software, is it much different than developing software for an online store? Is it more rewarding being part of this process?
Yeah. I mean, it's different than building a website. Just because there's actual, code that we have to write for iPhone, for Android. There's definitely a lot of technical back-end development that has to go into this to make it work effectively. And I think most importantly on the design side, we're trying to create it as easy as possible for a parent to go and find a story within seconds. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where I get a lot of the creative synapses start popping off in my brain that I really love. That technical part, like how do I make this the easiest way possible for you to bond with your child at night or during the day.
And that's one of the things that I love about this, and that's one of the reasons, when you reached out to me to come on the show, I love that was such a motivation for you, and you recognize the bonding that happens between parent and child or caregiver and child when we read together with the kids. We talk a lot about all the different benefits of reading with kids and helping them expand their vocabulary and develop empathy and all that kind of stuff, and that's really important. But I think that bond that grows between a parent and a child, and you mentioned it between you and your grandfather, that's so very, very important, and it's just the foundation that, and I often say it's the beginning of a lifelong conversation. If you can sit down and have read a 5-minute story and have a conversation about loneliness or about bullying with your kids when they're in kindergarten or first grade, it's going to be so much easier when they get to be teens to talk to them about driving and substances and relationships.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said any better.
Well, that's why I'm on the podcast.
I know that's what all of your listeners value. So, I didn't want to kind of repeat something that's already, they already know. I just kind of wanted to show them how they can make it a little bit easier for that process, so.
Now, the app just launched this week when we're speaking to you. What's the reaction been so far?
It's great. I mean, we've already have positive reviews. The reason I brought up the bullying story, which was written by a great children's writer, her name's Catherine Perry. I think she really hit it on the nail, but that's what's been getting a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. I guess it's just a popular topic. But yeah, the great thing is the reviews are actually talking about the content. So I know I'm kind of touching on, how easy it is, but we have handpicked a lot of the best children's authors all across the map, not just in the U.S. So we're coming from different cultural perspectives. We're not trying to, we're trying to diversify. We want to make sure that we can represent everyone in every particular situation that might arise, and our users are recognizing that.
Are the stories available only in English at this time? Are there multiple languages?
Right now we're just doing English, so we're just focusing on English. It would be interesting to expand to other countries and languages. But, for any type of startup, which we are, we kind of just want to start with a minimum viable product that we know that will be useful and valuable to our customer base, our users, our readers.
Well, one of the things that we've talked about a lot here on the show is just the value of giving kids easy access to books. And there are some studies that show that having 20 books in your home greatly increases the chances that your child will attend university. And, so this is what's so exciting for, the cost, less than the cost of a typical picture book. You can bring, am I right, thousands of books into your children's life?
Exactly, for $4.99 a month, right? And like I said, you're getting top-rated children's writers' content. So you're absolutely right. We're basically helping create the digital bookshelf in your life. Like I said, not to replace the physical one, because I know how much I'm looking at mine in my office right now, and I know how much I value it. So, I guess another thing that spawned from this was my love for reading as a kid and growing up and continuing that passion. And it definitely had to do with my parents pushing it on me, so this is just another addition to what you're currently doing with your child at home. So
Right. And now you mentioned that you're taking submissions. We have a lot of authors who listen to the podcast. What's the process if there's an author out there that thinks that they have a 5-minute story that would be perfect for this app? How should they go about contacting you?
Oh, great. You can email us at the email address is support@trystoried.com. So if you'd like, you can send us an email. You can send us a story submission. If you just want to kind of start a conversation with us that way, that's where to reach us.
That's fantastic. So this is, I love this because we do have, a couple of different audiences listening to the show. We have so many children's authors who listen to the show. We have so many parents, and this is of great interest to both of those audiences.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you touched on that because that's definitely important. We're always seeking for the best we can get, right? The best talent, the best writers, the more influential. So I kind of look at this growing into more of a community type app, that's sustained by the community. So it's not just coming from one source because we all know how important community is. So. Right. I see it kind of being pushed in that direction, and that's where it's going to come from is our writers on the other end.
Exciting. And since I have you here, you're entrepreneur, software engineer, just creative guy, and a caring guy too. If there's a parent out there who has it, and let me just ask it for me. I have a wonderful niece who's in high school who is telling me she's looking to be an engineer. That's one of the things she wants to pursue. Not necessarily software engineer at this time, but how can we inspire someone to be as successful in the engineering field, in the STEM field, as you are right now?
I'd say that it's a very rewarding process for the right person. So if there's some interest drawing you towards creation, or more importantly, making design work, then you should go for it because the way I see a great engineer is that, someone coming to them with a concept or idea or design, and I might be talking about my field in particularly, but a great engineer wants to figure out how to make that design work, right? That concept work. And that's the only way we've been able to grow technologically. So, when you see a difficult task ahead, and if you're into solving puzzles, you've got to have that mathematical mind. But if you are, you can do great things and you can change and help a lot of people's lives for the better.
Well, I like that because one of the things that I've heard, one of the reasons that maybe girls don't get into science and engineering as much as guys is because they're more caring and they're looking more for relationships as opposed to guys who like things and puzzles. But you're presenting this, the idea of getting into STEM as a way of helping people and improving people's lives.
That's how I've lived my life, especially in my adult life. And if I don't wake up every day, the notion that I'm making someone's lives better, then, I failed that day. So everything that I do, every project that I'm a part of, I have to feel like I'm doing it for the betterment of the community, locally, globally, If not, then it's not. But those are the driving forces for me in particular, right? I mean, everybody might have their own. So it's just important to just remind yourself and kind of try to figure out what works for you and then stick to it.
Awesome. Well, I found the app by just going to the Google Play Store on my Android, and it was a quick and easy download. It's also available on Apple.
Yes, on Apple. So you just type in Try Storied to either Apple or Google, or you can go to our website. It's www.trystoried.com. The direct links for the Apple and Google store will be there, and there's more information. If you want to read a little bit more about our work or see some screenshots, it's all available right there.
That is awesome. Well, we have had such a great time speaking to the head of the team that has created this great app, the Storied App, and his name is Jay Huffman. Jay, thank you so much for being part of our show.
Hey, I'm I'm so thrilled you had me on the show. Thank you so much, Shedley. I appreciate you allowing me to kind of spread the word about what we're doing.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We will be celebrating the 4th of July with a fantastic conversation with author Suzanne Jacobs Lipshaw, talking about her fantastic book, I Campaign for Ice Cream. If you are an author and would like to tell the world about your great children's book, we would love to give you a platform that'll give you a chance to tell thousands and thousands of people about your fantastic book. It's fun, it's easy, and it doesn't cost you a thing. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the contact button. Let us know about your great children's book. We will let you know the next easy steps. We want to thank Jay Huffman. Make sure you check out Storied.com. It's a really fascinating app, and I just can't wait to hear what you think about it. We also want to thank our sponsors, our friends at Familius Publishing. Stephen Joseph, the author of The Last Surviving Dinosaur, the Tyrannosaurus, and Dr. Don Menge, the author of the Queen Vernita Visitor Series. I want very much to thank my producer, Fatima Khan, and I want to thank my beautiful wife, and of course we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Thank you so much for subscribing to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts. And we also want to thank you for making the world a better place, and you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.